Hey up everybody and welcome back. Oh, got a little frog there. Alright, so it was only yesterday I finished the other video. So all I've been doing, apart from dodging the rain, it's poured, we have floodwaters. I just went along to, well actually it's like two villages along, but one of them is a very tiny village, where Steam Shop lives, and I get my ginger scones on a Wednesday. And the fields had flooded all over. The little river at the bottom of the hills flooded its banks, and we've still got rain for another couple of days, so glad we live on the top of a hill. Anyway, so what have I been doing? Well, as I mentioned, I've stripped the engine and I've been thinking again, which as you know is always dangerous. So I've come up with a number of decisions I have to make. I'm going to show you a couple of things in a minute, but front wheel should be arriving today. My carburetor came. I've got brake shoes arriving today for the wheels, but they're obviously a minor. What else have I got to order? Well, I've got all the engine parts to order. Still got handlebars and stuff like that to buy. But anyway, as I say, because this is right after the other video finished, still getting lots of comments, by the way. I'll just show you what's going on in no particular order. We'll start at the back end, because that's where the camera happens to be. I wasn't really happy about how high up the footrests were. They're one of those compromises that obviously you don't want them down low so you're catching on things, but at the same time the higher you go, the more you increase the centre of gravity of the whole machine, because your body's going up, and that makes it less stable. It means a slight movement in the trunk of your body has a greater effect on the bike. That's why tall people are much more, I should say, are able more to move the bike around. You know, if you're short legs and your weight and everything is concentrated on the bike, you've got to move everything. Whereas if you're really tall, you've got long legs, then you've got all that leverage. You lean your body a little bit and you really make the bike move. But anyway, I dropped this down from the 14-inch to the 13-inch position. To that bottom of the frame there, it's now 14 inches. So I can still drop the engine a couple of inches, but we're not fixed on where the engine's going yet. The other thing is the back wheel. You know, using the Cub hub is handy because the wheel bearings are exactly the right ones for this wheel spindle, and the brake is on the left hand side where the brake pedal is. But I only have a hub, so the first thing I have to do is widen the hub. So there's work, which is minor, but then I have to buy a rim, an alloy rim, and custom spokes, because with the hub being wider, the spokes are going to be slightly longer. So I can't just get, you know, the ones that, where do I get them from? Buchanan's, you know, would look in their database and say, okay, spokes such and such length. They'd have to do some calculations. So that would be, well, actually, probably now prices have gone up. Getting them for $400. I think the last rim I bought was $250, $260, around $100 for a set of stainless spokes. With shipping and all the rest of it, it's $400. Whereas I actually have a TY250 rear wheel. But that has problems. First of all, brakes on this side, which means I'd have to do a cable, probably. Which is, again, it's minor. It's like widening the hub. It's only work. And the wheel spindle is a different size. This wheel spindle is 17mm. That is 15mm. Now I had a rummage around and I found this, which is 15mm and is just about long enough to go in there. I'd have to turn this down a little bit. Now of course that means the slots in here are 17mm, so it would be quite good. I could turn this down to 15mm for a distance, and then a distance at 17mm, which would be the right size to fit in there, and a bit of whatever it is now, 20 or whatever, this end, to be the head, just like that one is. That is the same size. It would be slightly shorter, the head part. In fact, I might even have to weld the head onto it to be on the safe side. I'd drill it and make like a mushroom thing that would press into there and a bit of weld around it. So that is minor. Screw up the chrome, but can't be helped. So it's less work, probably $400 less. And as somebody pointed out in the comments, I even saved the black rubbish bag that engine was in. Actually, I put the engine back in it. Well, no, I haven't, because I've kept the engine inside the workshop, but I've kept the bag. So that's one decision I had to make. What's another decision? Well, that's a couple of decisions actually. Let's go and look at some bits of engine. So I started stripping the engine from the top down. So took the rocker box off, and the first thing I found was, see that? Is the other one the same? Yeah. I don't know whether that's wear. See, it's damaged at the edge. So I'll get another rocker box off and I think find another pair of rockers. So then I got to the head. When I took the valve springs off, underneath the valve spring there should be a seat like that. So the valve spring sits in that, and that stops the valve spring, the base of the valve spring, acting on the actual alloy of the head. But that wasn't there. Inlet and exhaust, there were none of those. So I took these out of another head. So what had happened, again, these things are too small to see probably, is, I don't know, can you see the mark on that? The springs had been offset a little bit, so they've worn into that. But worse than that, the bottom had worn into the alloy of the head around the valve guide. So I don't know what I've done with it now. Oh, I know it, I've been washing it off. So I had to go and find another head. Well, I found two more heads, 250 heads, in the box of heads, and one of them didn't have valve guides in, and the other one, when I picked it up, the exhaust valve guide dropped out of it. So I've got a head. Well, I suppose I could use that head without valve guides, but then I might need oversized valve guides for that. So the valves and guides, well, the guides I think are worn because the valves measure reasonably well. So I'm going to have to get new guides. The other thing I found, what have I done with it? What have I done with it? Hang on. Found it. There was only one cam follower in, one tappet. Look at that. Foot's broken off completely, which has done the tiniest little bit of damage on the edge of the lobe. I think there was only one guide in. I don't think the other one was in. Anyway, so I'm not sure if I've got another 250 bottom end. So I've got to go and look and find, hopefully a camshaft, because they're not particularly cheap, and a pair of tappets. Oh, and what else have we got? Hang on. I'm coming back here, alright, don't worry. See the push rods? That's got a little bit of wear on it. That's actually got a ridge. So I've got to go out in the shed and rummage, see if I can find camshaft tappets and push rods. And decide if I have to put new valve guides in. Oh, and the other thing was I started making my list from my well, I guess it's a B44 B25 book, but I noticed things were wrong because it was listing unified threads, and as I started to take the engine apart, I was coming across British Standard cycle and British Standard Whitworth threads. So on Peter Quick's website, Unit BSA Singles, he has some books, PDFs you can download, and there was one for the C25, which is exactly right for this, the old type of parts book that didn't list the fasteners. It just says bolt bearing instead of giving the sizes and what have you. So let me carry on cleaning things up, and that wheel will come. I think I'll probably put the tyre and whatever on it, and we'll put it in the forks, and we'll make the spaces for the forks and stuff like that. But anyway, let me press on and bring you back in a little bit. Right, my front wheel has arrived, and it is very nice. Spokes just really need cleaning up. I mean, not even sort of sanding rust off, just cleaning. They've got a little bit of water staining on them. Rim's nice. Got a brake plate with it and everything. So that's good. And the brake plates, the brake shoes arrived. So, I don't know whether you can sort of see this from over there, but I've got a straight edge clamped to the back tube and the front down tube because they're both the same diameter. So that is exactly parallel with the axis of the frame. So it's 1.25" tube, which gives me what? 5/8 to the centre line from here. So I dropped a perpendicular down onto this wheel spindle from that and moved over 5/8 so I know where the centre line is there, and then I've been able to measure from the centre line out to the inside of the swinging arm and make various measurements on that TY wheel. And the sprocket is about 3 inches, well, the inside of the sprocket is 3 inches off the centre line. There are marks on the swinging arm here where the chain catches, and they're 3 inches from the centre line marked on this back tube. So that's where the chain was. So I've been able to work out what I want in the way of spaces on either side and in terms of collars as well. So for this one, you can see it's 15. That butts up on that nicely. So as I say, I'll put an end on that to go against there. Then on this end I need to make a sleeve cum spacer to get it right. The only thing with that seems to be, with some quick measurements at the engine, that's got the engine way over to the right. So what I'm going to do is actually put the wheels in. So the front wheel, I'll put a tube and a tyre and everything on it, and as I say, we'll put that in and make spaces, so that's fixed. The back wheel, I think I'd like to get some new spokes for it. Yeah, I mean, there's some, they're not very nice ones. A couple of them are bent. We'll see. We'll see. But I can put that in and put it on a piece of wood, the right height for a tyre. And then I want to see, because there's with this being 3 inches, the chain line from the centre line, a 4-inch tyre of course means it sticks out 2 inches either side of the centre line. That's an inch, that's a lot between the tyre and the chain. So I could pull it in a 1/2 inch, and let me show you something. See, on a TY rear wheel, the sprocket is really far away from the hub, and it's on these great big things which go all the way down. So I could, if I'm going to put new spokes on, I could put that in the lathe and turn them down 1/2 inch to move the chain in, and it would still give me a 1/2 inch. Let's think, from here to the centre line is 3 inches. So from there to the edge of the tyre, it's an inch. So if I took a 1/2 inch off, I'd still have a 1/2 inch, which is a good bit. It's like that between the tyre and the chain. So, but I don't want to do that until see, I could do it in the mill as well if I didn't want to take the wheel apart. There's a couple of bad spokes, but on the whole, yeah, I don't know. Do I want to spend another $100 and strip a wheel and rebuild it and everything? So we'll try it as it is. You know what? They've all been helicoiled. Did I do that? I don't remember. Maybe I did. It's strange they've all been helicoiled, which is annoying. I've got to look back on the videos, because I know I got another back wheel and decided to use that. I wonder if I'd helicoiled this and then got another back wheel with better spokes. I seem to remember it was a better back wheel that I put in the greaser. It's a distinct possibility. Anyway, that's by the by. We can get the wheels in anyway, and then we can really look at chain lines. I can also, of course, if I'm going to relace this, I can set it so that hang on, oops, we're back to red light on the battery. So the offset's different. I can change the offset a bit as well, so I can pick up, although I can't do much more than 1/2 inch, and I'm going to be fouling the tyre. Anyway, that's for another day. So that's going to do me for the day, and I'll see you whenever. Good morning, everybody. Well, for once it's not raining. So, while you've been away, I did a little bit of lathe work. I didn't video it because it was just nothing special. And as I say, it's not a machining channel. So anyway, what I did was I turned the end of that down so it's 17mm. So that fits into the swinging arm nicely. And then this has a little lip there, and I did all my measurements. When that goes on there, that's the right distance from the brake plate to the inside of the swinging arm. So that's our spacer for there. So I just made that out of alloy. For this end, I needed something to press on the bearing, and there's a seal here. And then same thing, it needed to go into the swinging arm, and then there's the adjuster and what have you. So I made that. But, hey! This was slightly annoying. This piece of scrap was almost perfect, except that wasn't quite long enough, look, but it's good enough. So anyway, that goes in there like thus. We get a new oil seal, of course. So that is pressing on the inner race of the bearing. Then this is going to go in the swinging arm. So let's get all that put in. Right, well, So I got the piece in on the other side, because the oil seal keeps that in. So that is going to go into the swing. Hang on, let me just raise that up a little bit. That is going to go into the swinging arm on that side. Oh, hang on. Can I get that in? Yes. Then we have the brake plate. Then this spacer should go in there. Sorry, I'm going to be a fraction of an inch out here. I am a fraction. And from there to the inside of there should be 1 7/16. Hold on. This course was annoying to machine because the wheel spindle and everything was in millimetres. Ow, just banged my head on the frame. But of course everything on the lathe is in imperial. That's only reading now. One 3/8. Let me go and take a 16th off this. I'm hoping it's just going to be on this side, but we've got a little bit of leeway the other side. Hang on a minute. I'm just trying to line this up to see if it's centered. Yeah, that is. So let me take where did I say 16th off this. Alright, let's try again. Nice. So, it goes in there, like that. As I say, this bit is the right diameter for that. Let me take you over the other side. You can see you will see I've got to put a piece on. I drilled the end of it actually so that the extra piece I put on, I can make it with a little plug end that'll fit into there. And then I chamfered it and welded that. I think I've already told you that, didn't I? Now on this end, the spacing piece at 17mm sticks out. I think I told you this as well, but I made this side out of steel because it's going to be in here, whereas that side is purely a spacer. And this sticks out this side because that's got to go on like thus. Oh, look at that, that's actually only part drilled through. Interesting. So I can actually take a little bit off this. But anyway, that's going to go on like thus, and then we have, where have we? A nut that goes on there. That of course isn't actually holding that tight anymore, so I'm going to have to take that out, take that fraction off there. Let me go and do that. Right, done that. You know, these snail cams, they didn't put any little scallops in, so I might have to do something about that. But for now, just to make sure they're sort of equal, we'll put them round like that. Oh, pardon me. Then that goes on, that's better. So what we'll do is we'll tighten that up. It's only pulling it through from the other side. What size is that? $20. 2, which is a pretty standard size for Japanese wheel spindle nuts. Yep, there we go. I'm ready to have something to eat. Oh, Linda bought some more of those pork pies, so I've got one of those. Oh, those out defrosting. Oh no, of course I can't pull that through, you dipstick. Yes, it should. That should come through further. I'm sure I made this so that I could get the split pin in there. But that is up against the shoulder. I've got to do that shoulder a bit more as well. And I bet it's a 1/16 of an inch again. That's what this was out here. The magical 1/16 of an inch. It's not going to move the wheel any, but it's going to allow the wheel spindle to pull through further. But anyway, that's how that all goes together. And then, well, let me move you slightly. As I say, I'll put 4 inches of wood under that to get it up to where it should be. What am I doing? Oh yeah, I was going to just press that onto the... That's right on the chain marks there. And the sprocket is clear, 64 tooth sprocket is clear in there, I think. Yeah, I'm thinking the chain's wider than the sprocket, but it doesn't matter because the chain's up here and down there. It's only the sprocket I'm worried about here. And that is, sprocket's 1/4 of an inch thick. That's 3/16. And we want it to be something like 6 inches from the centre line, which is there. Yeah, we're alright. We are alright. So let me just do that minor thing. Let me bring you in here. Hold on to your chairs. You see that? That is corroded. So, and a little bit in there as well. Clean that out, fill that up with weld to make it back to being the full thickness. What I'm going to do with these footrests is just make up some extensions to make them wider. I'll take this little bit of plate off, use the same pivot thing, just put wider footrests on. Because footrests are incredibly expensive as well. And I don't think they'd fit in there, whereas these fit down, and you can actually see some of these, put some weld on the bottom because the footrest started to... Oh, there was a spring inside there. Same as the BSA spring is on the sort of off-road bikes, the B25T and the T25T. They have a spring that goes up the centre. Anyway, that's for further on. Let's get this last little bit done with a wheel, and then I'll chock it up. And we can, actually I'll probably by then have a tyre to do the front wheel. All right, I think the fire may have caused us some problems, because as you saw, I put a straight edge from there to there, and then I made all my marks on the wheel spindle I had in. Took all my measurements from that, made up these spaces. Sorry, I was 16th out, but I put this wheel in and I am 7/16 out. Centre line of this is 7/16 away from the centre line of that, this way. So what I've done is I made absolutely certain that the distance from the rear wheel spindle to the swinging arm spindle is the same on both sides. That means the wheel is exactly straight in the swinging arm. Then if I take this straight edge and I put it in there like thus, and I measure to there, you get 1.1/16. If I measure to there, I get 1.3/8. But even worse than that, I move this up, this thing is just, the higher I go, come on, stay still. Now we're at 1.5 inches. So this is at an angle like that. I must have twisted. So with that being out of line with this, when I run a straight edge from that to that, it was putting it all that way. So, can we twist this? Got to see about clamping it down really tightly to this bench and make sure it's absolutely horizontal. Then I'd have to heat this up and put a bar. See, I've got to twist. But if I just do it there, it would just tend to bend it. I've really got to make it twist. So what I would have to do, I can have that absolutely clamped down tight. I could put something on this top piece, actually double wheel across, twist it like that. I could use the laser, I suppose. Oh, I can set the laser up now and yeah, but which line would I be working on? Oh, well, apart from doing the forks, we haven't spent a huge amount of time doing anything to this. Oh, that's so annoying. Alright, let me think about it some more. Well, now I'm even more confused. I've got this set so the swinging arm is dead level. I make sure that that is just on that tube, and that is on the tube. Well, that is fractionally out. That way, which would be right. I thought it would have been a lot more than this, but if that is out over this way, then that is why it's measuring closer there than it is there. That needs to go in. And what I'm thinking, rather than trying to twist things, the way to do this is to cut this in two. Lorry, sleeve it with a good sort of tight sleeve, and then see, I'm not trying to twist and things. I can just simply turn this around till I get it the way I want it. Now, where would be the place to put the cut? Down here or up there? I want the whole sort of thing to see, or does that make any difference? Well, yes, it would make a difference. Oh. Actually, it's given me two problems, because not only have we found that this is out a bit, which maybe, again, for a trials bike, it probably wouldn't make any difference. You wouldn't notice it. It's going to make the front wheel be over slightly, but the bigger problem is it threw all my measurements out. Actually, that's probably the major problem. I cannot possibly move this hub 3/8 that way, because then the sprocket will definitely be rubbing on that swinging arm. But I can move the rim, or I can move the rim relative to the sprocket. Do that two ways. I don't really see I can move the rim over 3/8 in the truing of the wheel. That would just make it weird. But as we know, I can take 3/8 off the sprocket face. So if I bring the sprocket in 3/8, I can move the whole wheel, which would move the rim. You're getting a lot of thinking in this episode, aren't you? I am tempted to order some new spokes, cut these spokes out, get the engine and the hub with the chain line absolutely right, and then build the wheel up. Bugger, bugger, bugger. Twisting that, I say if I cut it and do it, isn't a big deal. Maybe I should just do that first. As I say, we'll clamp the frame down so the swinging arm is absolutely horizontal. Cut that, twist this until I can get it vertical. I tried doing it on this plate, but of course the plate is warped, both sides have got completely different measurements. What I should do actually is measure this to see what that is, and then make this the same thickness so that I can at least be measuring completely vertically. Or clamp something on the two things so that they're exactly the same thickness, and then I can put a straight edge down and use that. What to do, what to do, what to do. Let me think about it a bit more. Sorry about this. Right. Thought we'd better do this job properly. So I brought it over the welding table because this is bolted to the floor, and I know it's perfectly horizontal, lengthwise and crosswise. So I bolted this, clamped this down, checked the swinging arm, that is perfectly level, horizontal, 0 degrees. This vertically is 0 degrees, so we know we're right to the swinging arm. The swinging arm is also exactly parallel with the edge of the table. I measured from this edge to the swinging arm here and here. Okay, so I know it's exactly right. Now I've got the, you can see I've got the laser on here. Now what I've also got here, I don't know if you can see that, there's a black line. This is at right angles to the edge of the table. I've also measured it from this end, it's exactly the same length. So that is to make sure I've got the laser line exactly in the same plane as this. It's not pointing at an angle, alright? So I've got it on now. It's like reaching over myself here, but so if I put that there, it is reading 1 inch. If I put that there, it's reading 1 inch. If I put that there, it's reading 1 1/16. And if I put that there, it's reading 1. Well, actually between 1/4 and 5/16. Right? That's spot on 1. So it's almost 5/16 over towards me. So in other words, I don't know about it being twisted, but it's certainly bent out of the centre line plane with regards to the swinging arm. So what I'm going to do is try a little bit of flame straightening on this side, right at the back here, and see if we can't pull this head over so that we're at least in line that way, and then we can see about any twist in this. Alright, so let me switch the laser off, switch you off, and give this a little heat up. Well, I haven't got this to move at all. Started off with just one here, and I just did 4 small ones along there. Hasn't moved one little bit. Now I'd like to do it like that because I'm not applying any pressure to it. If I heat it up, if I sort of heated it all the way around and tried to pull it over, then there's a chance this will move, and you know, I can't reset it up, but that would have been nice if that would have just pulled over. But it hasn't moved 1 iota. Because we don't know. See, if it just got hot, then it's almost like stress relieving it. It's almost like heat relief. Whereas, you know, if I'd have thought one side maybe got hot, that could have pulled, you know, even these, if they'd have pulled in, could have affected it. But, man, I can't believe that didn't turn it up. I don't know how thick walled this tubing is. If it's really thin walled, then obviously there's less metal to expand. What happens is the metal expands as it's heated, and then when it contracts it pulls back in, but because it's heated here, when it tries to pull back in, it's being constrained, so it pulls the tube itself. I mean, if you go on YouTube, you can see them straightening great big I-beams and pulling them over 3 or 4 inches. That just, oh, this is starting to look a little grim. Shall I put the rosebud on, heat this up, pull it over? Let me check, make sure it hasn't moved in that last, excuse me. last little bit of cooling. This has moved, the laser's moved slightly, I think. That's spot on 1"16" there. Spot on 1"16" there. See, you know, this might be bent down here. That is reading 1.5 inches, sorry, 1.125 inches, 1 3/16. Inch and almost 5/16. See, it hasn't. It's still that 1/4 inch over. God damn it. What it needs is one of those proper frame jigs that absolutely clamps everything tight, and then they can hydraulically move it. Let me give it another go. Right, well, we have proof of the saying, more by luck than good management. So, excuse me, I put the rosebud on there, heated this all the way around. Of course, when I started pulling it, it moved, but anyway, I just pulled it and thought, okay, stop. So I've just set it all back up, so everything's level, everything's square, and we have 1 1/16 there, 1 1/16 there. Can't get into front of the laser. 1 1/16 there. Oh. 1 inch or fractionally less than 1 inch there, which means very slight twist, and you can actually see it in the headstock. So we're straight. Now we've got to turn it round a little. So what do? Dare I risk clamping this down even tighter, putting a bar in here, heating that up and seeing if I can do that? Because you see, the thing is, it's really difficult just to get it to move in one plane. So when I'm doing that, if I push or pull slightly out of that plane, then I put that twisted again. But it's worth a flipping try, isn't it? Nice big piece of bar in here. But I've got to fasten that down a little bit tighter. Okay, let me try that. Right, this is going to add quite a bit of video, but I'm going to show you this. I'm going to heat it up here. Got my tubing ready. It would have been nice if I could have done this all in one, but and I want to get this good and hot actually, because twisting takes a bit more than bending. sure I'm on my line there. Moved over slightly. So we need 1 1/8 there. So we need 1 1/8 there. Oh, I've gone too far. Can't possibly have gone that far. Unless this has moved. Hang on. I've moved that. That's still on 23. That's still on 23. I can't possibly have gone over by that much. Oh, I have. I can see it. Shit. Right, let me try and remedy this. Well, something weird happened with this frame, excuse me. I have got things that move very slightly, everything's still. That is between 1 1/16 and 1 1/8. That is between, that's just on 1 1/8. So you could say it's maybe a 32nd out. And that's between 1 1/16 and 1 1/8. But this is out. It's not perfectly vertical, the headstock. I don't see how we're getting any twist in here because of the plates. I mean, I know the plates aren't huge and they're more to stop the headstock from ripping away from the tubes. Thinking time again. Alright, I have used my superhuman strength, excuse me. I didn't heat it up this time because it was so close. So this frame really is a little bit out altogether because I've got that ruler across there, because if I have the level on it, it's level. If I move it up and down, it changes. I mean, it's not like it's a couple of degrees, it's point something of a degree changes. So I think all of this is just twisted a little with the heat. But anyway, that is level. Swinging arm's still level, all the measurements are still the same. And just by eye, I would say the top of this was level with that. Measured these, we're within a 32nd of an inch, the 3 measurements. And this, the swinging arm is still measuring 0. This actually is measuring 0 there. I think I've got it. I'm certainly, as they say, it's good enough for work. It's certainly good enough for a trials bike. So there we go. And I think I've probably got an hour's worth of video now with all this prattling around. And this afternoon we're going out. We have a friend who plays oboe, an English horn, in the Ithaca Orchestra, Symphony Orchestra, and this afternoon their pieces include Karelia Suite by Sibelius, and I love Sibelius. So there we go. Basically straight, square, everything the way it should be. God knows if I've done anything in the way of damage to the tubing, but again, I'm not putting my life on the line at 200 miles an hour, am I? Alright, that's it. I'm going to say that's it for this week anyway. So I'm Until I see you next week, you stay safe and enjoy yourselves.